Hi, you're listening to Dusk to Dawn, reading horror and weird fiction. We're your hosts, Amber and Dan.
Follow us on Instagram at Dusk to Dawn Podcast. Please rate our show wherever you're listening, and let's get started.
If I tell you to sever the head of your neighbor, yes, to dine in the bowl of their skull, you do it, and we might call that fealty. If I tell you to make me a necklace from the heads of your children, to make me a red veil from their latticed veins, that I might lay on my brow, you'll curtsy on bloody knees and crow, yes, father, and you'll ready the knife.
I'm feeling funny.
And we might call...
You gotta keep this part in.
Oh my God. And we might call that fealty as well. I say, cut out your eye. You slice away. Take your hand off at the wrist. You wet the blade and get to work. That too is fealty. You understand? Yes? Make me a king's house from this whole place. How I use your voice now. How I speak through you. The sorrowful jaw working just so. How you might remake the world for me. A king's house among all the leaning world. You shall make me a house of fever and wounds, a house of beetle and crow, a house of worms, a house of hounds that savage forever at the belly of love and take root there, devouring. Did it work?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If that's for real, then, I don't know, maybe like 40 people are going to get infected.
I don't know if we have to have the weeping, like the whole weeping portion, or if like that's enough. Like, are you all crazy now? Did it work?
And we didn't have a song that was covering it up.
Darn it.
Although that was just to trick people. We also realized that we would be okay. We would survive the message.
We would have survived the message, yeah.
Yeah, I never pick up my phone if I don't recognize the number.
Even if I do recognize it, it's a 50-50 chance.
Although I did get tricked once recently because, at least new for me, I got a spam call in my area code. Usually, which probably people get, but it was a new one for me. Usually it's like an area code I don't recognize, but now they're getting smarter.
I still have my Bay Area code. So I get a lot of spam calls
me too on my
from
phone.
The Bay Area, and I know it's spam because they think that they're being local, and I'm like, nah, actually local for me is not there.
Yeah, so I got a 503 call, and maybe it's something.
Well, they do it all over. I mean, it's all over, but anyway.
So we would have survived. I mean, we would have then lived in a terrible world, and it would have sucked. But I mean,
it doesn't. To be a post-apocalyptic world, they seem to clean it up pretty quick. To be honest,
it's true.
They're like, hey, let's fence all y'all in, and see what happens.
All right, all this nonsense we're talking about is the celebration of The Devil by Name. This is part 2 in our month of Rosson, and we're following up the first book, Fever House, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. So check that out if you haven't. And we are going right into Devil by Name. And we got some...
Literally, I mean, I just read from it for our trial.
Yes, that was from that book.
Tried to read it very monotone, but as you can tell, Dan made that hard.
So for those of you who are just joining us, I mean, go listen to Fever House or listen to this. You can do whatever the hell you want. But we're going to, for the author, we talked about Keith Rosson last time. He is...
Still the author.
He's still the author. A longtime Portland illustrator. At least we actually chatted with him yesterday.
Yeah.
With our local horror writers group association, like on a Zoom call. We talked, I don't know, 40 minutes or something.
Yeah, he was our guest speaker this month. It was very cool. Thank you for coming.
And I'm pretty sure that was planned before. Yeah, it's been planned before I read this stuff.
What do you mean? Like, we planned to read these books last summer.
Yeah.
And then...
When did you find out? When did you plan him to talk?
Oh, like in October, November?
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. So, because I remember hearing that, but I hadn't read the books yet. So I was like, oh, cool, local author.
So Heath, our chapter leader, we do a book club, and he said, oh, we can do some of the books that you're reading for your podcast. So I showed him our very secret list of books for this season. and he's like, oh, I've been really wanting to read Fever House. So we picked Fever House. And I don't know if that sparked the idea of asking him to speak at our chapter meeting this month, or if it just, the pieces fell in place. I don't know. But yeah. And then I guess everyone liked Fever House enough to then have this month's book club book be The Devil by Name. So
yeah?
we read both his books for the podcast and for the book club.
Nice. I just do the podcast.
Which makes it easy for me because that's just one less book I had to read during the crazy Christmas season. So appreciate it, guys.
So for those of you who don't know, Keith Rosson, or if you forgot over the last 2 weeks, is a local author. He did
local to us, yeah.
Yes, local to us, Portland, and started out doing graphic design and illustration. And he said it was like 25 years ago. So maybe this is like way long ago starting out before he started to really write a lot. But yeah, he did some album covers.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He said he didn't. You made that up.
No, I didn't make that up.
Made that up.
Like about the author in like so many places.
Yeah,
making posters and album art. These
well,
publicists are failing.
Maybe he did, and just not the bands that you. Regardless, he said he did some like art stuff, which is really cool.
And he's a punk rocker, and he still is a punk rocker, and he plays guitar, and he said two things that are just awesome. First of all, he's like, it takes all of his brain power to play guitar like poorly or, averagely,
Sounds
competently.
Familiar.
And I'm like, yes, I see you, brother. That's exactly how I feel. And then he also said, by the way, Keith, I listened to Neckties Make Me Nervous. Awesome. Just cool punk rock. Yeah, he plays punk rock and has recorded at least an album for that. But what I'm trying to get at is he had mentioned he wanted to focus more on writing because it is substantially more difficult to make a go of it as a band, right? There's just so many more pieces and there are other personalities. And so writing, you can just sit down and you can write and you don't have to compromise, right?
And to your editor, maybe.
Sure. Right. But it's all down to you, which is also part of the scary part. But if you're making stuff happen, then it's all up to you, right? You kind of have your own destiny in your hands where music's
all
lot
yours.
trickier.
Yeah. You're not sharing.
Yeah. But anyway, my point being, I see you there. I also use all of my brain power to play guitar, and it's a lot of fun, but I need to keep writing as my focus.
And this is why I have a list of books I've read at the end of the podcast, and you've read one.
I like some balance.
You only have so much brain power.
It's true, especially me. All right. So the summary for Fever House, I'm just going to reread it because it was a sentence long. A dismembered hand makes people go super crazy, and it's really bad if someone dies around it. So, Devil by Name is 5 years later. Things have gotten much worse. There we go. Let's start talking about it.
That sounds about right.
Do you want to give us the setup, like for the opening of the book? Do you remember the end of Fever House? Can you make that transition?
Man, it was so long ago. It was like a couple weeks ago.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So, okay, if you haven't read Fever House, like skip, I don't know, 30 seconds or whatever. So Fever House, there's a hand that is discovered by some characters, and it makes them feel really mean and want to beat the shit out of people and hurt people.
You just like see bloody, violent red in your mind. You just want to tear things apart.
And actually have visions and stuff, and it's like really intense. It disappears, like there are government people trying to get it and contain it, but it disappears. There's also connotations of like, is there an angel who might be a fallen angel, giving information about what's going on with this stuff, and it's like kind of vague, and eventually you figure out like there are these three pieces to this fever thing.
The feverness to the fever.
To the fever. To the fever. Thank you. There's the hand, the eye, and the voice. And the eye shows you how you die. The hand drives you crazy. And the voice turns you into a zombie.
But it's like a cool, see how you're going to die, at least in terms of like being interesting in a narrative where it's not necessarily a clear picture. I mean, maybe it is for some people, but one of the characters looks into the eye and it's shadowy premonition with glimpses of some people and some things happening, but it's like he sees bloody hands and someone who kind of looks familiar, something's happened to them, right? So it's an obscured view of your death. So you know exactly what's going to happen.
And you're talking about Devil by Name now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, shit goes bad. The end of Fever House, they quote unquote accidentally, and it's the government, so you can't fucking trust if it's actually an accident or not, send this message that drives everyone crazy and turns them into these zombies like all over the world. So pretty much the world is devastated and turned into like the zombie apocalypse. And then now we're in Devil by Name, the sequel of this duology. There are only 2 books in this, and Devil by Name begins 5 years later. And within that 5 years, we come to find out that in general, in like populated areas where people are, they've worked really hard to contain the fevered, and like society is not back to normal by any means, but like you can like walk around Portland, for instance, and not really worry about being attacked by fevered people
because there's a huge wall.
There's a wall. They're
it.
containing them, hoping to find a cure, kind of thing. But you have to worry about the lawlessness that comes with the apocalypse.
Yeah, the main thing that happened to like set off apocalypse mode is the intention, at least the discussed intention for sending this message out that made everyone go crazy and violent, was like, hey, we're going to put this voice on a satellite and send it to like Russia and China, right? Like our geopolitical enemies, and targeted at certain places where, we want to mess stuff up, but we were going to mess up our enemies. And then oops, accidentally, sort of, the message goes out to everybody, and like anything that can receive a call, any phone gets the message on it.
So now you know why we would survive, because we wouldn't have picked up our phones. I'd been like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know that number.
I mean, mine actually goes directly to voicemail too, so that's convenient for me. If I don't know the number, I'm like, yeah, no. So, but I guess maybe...
Did it go to voicemail? I guess is a question.
I was just going to say, like, ooh, but would I have listened to the voicemail?
Yeah,
especially if it said some weird shit like that, and be like, ooh, what's this? I might actually listen to it.
Like, this is cool, babe. You got to check this out.
Maybe, after all that huffing and puffing about how I would have survived, I probably wouldn't have. Well, whatever.
So just like Fever House, in this book we have multiple point of view characters. I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah.
Some old ones, some new ones. Catherine is back, your favorite from the first one, and
yes,
she continues to be just a total badass.
Yes.
In this book. We also have John Bonner, is detective the right word? He's detective-ish.
No, he's the federal agent.
Yeah. Yes, that is much better. No, he's more like, oh, that's right. He's working within Portland, and he tries to keep, drugs and gang activity under control.
That's like his cover, though. But they're also, I think, looking for the hand still, right? They don't know. So he has it in... And it's funny because it's like he keeps it in the fridge, right? And so it made me wonder if it was the same apartment where it was originally found. But then I realized it was Hutch, not Bonner, who originally found it, so he wouldn't have known. But Bonner keeps it in this apartment, and he'll go and just like sit with the hand for hours and just be in this like weird psychic trance.
Yeah.
Of just like these horrible thoughts.
Yeah, they keep it. He normally keeps the hand in a lead-lined box in the refrigerator too, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of like subdues its violent imagery. But this dude's just been through so much shit. He just likes to cradle the hand and like go into like meditative
horrible state.
And it's great because there's a couple of times he's like, "This has probably affected me badly. It's probably not a good idea."
Yeah, but also though, what's great is like it makes sense later on, and it's very important, I think, that he did that, because he's then able later to kind of ignore it when it starts trying to get people to do what he wants. He's trained himself.
Exactly. Oh, you notice it's like is it Princess Bride where he drank the poison so that they both drink poison?
Yeah
he's kind of like getting his immunity up.
There you go.
Okay, anyway. And Catherine is on the other side of the country. She's in Massachusetts, right? In the beginning?
Yeah.
Because she had flown there, been forcefully flown there at the end of Fever House. And she's just chilling there with a different name now. She's no longer Catherine Moriarty, at least officially. She has her ration card and an ID provided by the renewed government, kind of. But everyone's got to work if they want a ration card to eat, right? And so she has changed her name to Catherine Sunderson. And what's she doing? What's going on with Nick right now?
Well, oh, that's sad. Yeah. Well, no, that's fine. I was just gonna say it's interesting because her job now is to call people, which is ironic, and ask them how they feel about the government's job, like how the government's doing. And it's like supposed to be a gauge to see how happy the citizens are. But if you don't answer their questions, you don't get your ration card. And you have to answer in a certain way because, otherwise.
It seems similar to one of the questions is, I think it might be a couple questions, but it's like, where were you at the time you received the message and like what went on? And it basically, because this end triggered, this sort of post-apocalyptic setting, it would be similar to sending a questionnaire to someone who survived Hiroshima, right? And be like, where were you? How did it affect you? And they're like, I'm traumatized forever and very sick. Like, just fill out this government survey about an extremely traumatic event.
But I think there were also questions about like, how are we doing?
Yes.
Which is like the shady government side of like, oh, of course you're doing wonderful. I would never complain because I want my ration card so I can eat, right? So it's very totalitarian in a sense as well.
Yeah. But, she just does it. It's pretty low key considering the world they're living in. She just has to call some people and it kind of sucks. But she gets a ration card. She can live under the radar and just kind of chill.
Go home to her family. And it's so sad. So her son, Nick, who is one of the main characters in the first book, it ends with him and Bonner in Nick's apartment, and they're looking through Nick's dad's paperwork, which is Matthew, and Matthew is pretty much the cause of all this. And it ends with them there and the message coming through. We find out in The Devil by Name that Nick was bitten by the, what was his name? The guy he was with.
Who he got the eye from, right?
Rauchman.
Did Rauchman have the eye? Was that there when they had their meetup in Fever House?
I think so, yeah. So Rauchman, Bonner, and Nick, or Coffin, you could call him. I guess I'm doing all last names. They're all together in Nick's apartment, and Rauchman is the only one to pick up the phone, and so he turns, and before Bonner realizes what's happening and can get to Nick, Rauchman bites Nick, and if you get bitten, you instantly turn. So you can either heard the song or you've been bitten since by someone who has been turned. So Nick is zombified, and for some reason Bonner feels like really beholden to Catherine and Nick.
He missed saving Nick by like seconds.
Yeah, but then you're like, oh shit, too bad. You shoot him. I mean, he did that with his partner. His partner was an asshole, but he really like felt the need to.
They put Nick like in.
They bagged him.
Yeah, in Portland, like he got bit, and then they put him in the bathroom and like locked him in there, and then bagged him and took him.
Yeah, eventually. So John Bonner is the cop. Jack Bonner is his uncle, who is in charge of the company that sent out the song everywhere. So he's got connections high up, and Jack, the uncle, is like, hey, I need you to like, hold down the fort kind of thing. And Bonner's like, okay, well, if I do that, you have to do me a favor. And his favor is he wants Nick taken from Portland to Massachusetts to Catherine. And it's interesting because I think he's put on one of the first like flights since the since the reckoning. So to bring a fevered across the country, it's pretty crazy. So, but I think also part of it was that he used the eye, Bonner did, and he saw that Catherine was going to become the harbinger of his death. So
Also, a quick interjection here that's really cool is, so Bonner looks in the eye, which shows him his death, right? So he sees some of the details around his death, which also tells him that he won't die in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
And gives him a kind of bravado, because he's like, oh, when I die, these people are going to be here and I'm going to have blood on my hands. So, if I go beat up some punks, they're not in that vision, I'm not going to die. So it kind of, in a sense,
still
it
get
gives
really fucking hurt, though.
yeah,
I mean,
right. Exactly.
You're not off the hook. You're just
But in
not
a sense,
die.
it gives you a little bit of an invincibility complex
Yeah.
in terms of the dying part, at least.
Yeah. But yeah, then we're also introduced to new characters. Naomi becomes a main character, and she's with Dennis and Emily, and they are in France, which I thought was surprising. I was like, oh, we're in Europe now too, which was cool. And we're there for a while. But Naomi is special.
Yeah, how old is she? Is she a teenager? Maybe?
I
Young
think
woman.
so. I think she's pretty young.
Yeah.
Because
Maybe,
well,
like
it's
13,
5 years
14?
later. I think she was like 13 and now she's about 18.
Okay. But her deal is that she can reverse baptize these fever.
Reverse baptized. I like that.
Well, the first time she did, basically she puts her hands on the back of a fevered's head, at least the first couple of times. So it feels very much like, that hand on the head baptism
blessing
thing, a
thing,
blessing. Yeah. And it sucks the fevered out of them.
And she sees their misery and stuff, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So she has to experience their trauma.
And meanwhile, the government back in America and probably around the world is pursuing a vaccine, but there hasn't been a lot of progress.
Yeah, the scientist is like, yeah, we've made some progress. They became a little less crazy for about 2 seconds.
I think it might have been 30 seconds on their
30,
best success, and then they were fevered again. So the vaccine's not coming, at least not anytime soon, and the president's getting anxious.
His pants.
Yeah. So that plays back to Naomi. So that we have this girl who can, through her touch, take the fevered out. But what's messed up about it is these fevered are, if they see a human, they'll do anything to go bite it, right? Including walking through a minefield or knives or whatever.
They don't feel pain.
Yeah.
So
but once the fever's taken out of them, then they're like, ow,
everything hurts.
So
I smell like shit.
But she's obviously very highly valuable for this ability. And she starts out in France with these two people who picked her up, and they're basically just
fucking around and being assholes.
Yeah.
Not Naomi, but the people she's with. She's sort of held prisoner in a sense. But I thought of her a little bit of a Joan of Arc character.
Yeah, I
probably
got that
because
vibe.
It started in France is what initiated that. But yeah, she's definitely the bringer of peace and the cure in a sense. She also reminded me a little bit of, I forgot the character's name, but this had a lot of parallels with The Stand, Stephen King's The Stand. Not the entire book, but there's some we're going to go west and in this post-apocalyptic world.
And there's a sense that there's a very bad thing that's going to happen if the prophecy is fulfilled.
The
sort of
religious undertones that crop up eventually in The Stand. But there's the mother, I forgot her name, the woman who they go to her home. She's really old.
the crow woman or whatever she is.
Yeah,
the raven.
she calls them to her,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's it's not the same, but it had that that sense of we need to find this person and they will help us fix everything. I loved the parallels with The Stand. The Stand is my favorite Stephen King book, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. So, except for the end.
Yeah, I'll
we
say
won't
real
talk
quick.
about that. That's a different podcast. But I really like the the post-apocalyptic journey, where you're trying to get from place to place. And it's so different in this book. It's not like we're going to cross the United States on foot, but we need to get to Portland and we need to get away from this little town in Massachusetts and we're coming from France. Like, travel is such a interesting concept in this type of world because it's so much more difficult.
Well, and I also like the inevitable meetup of like Catherine and some other characters are moving to Portland, but also all the bad shit gets its focus on Portland. So there's just that sense of long geographic travel to a place where all of the pieces are going to meet and shit's going to happen one way or another. And it does.
And it does. And it's not very good.
But it's cool as hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's not good for the characters.
I think we should also mention Dean Haggerty. He's a new character. He starts in Indiana. Is that something like that?
Somewhere in the Midwest-ish.
But he's self-identified ragman, which is basically means he's got a bicycle and a wagon, and he scavenges, and then he sells those or barters what he scavenges with other people. But he's like really good at it. He is like super organized, and he sees scavenging almost as an art because it's a matter of discovering what's valuable, but also thinking about how to then, sell that stuff to people. And it seems like he's really good at it, even though he's just some dude biking around with stuff in his wagon. It's not like, oh crap, what did we read that was so cool? The Florida book. It's no...
Oh, Yeehaw Junction?
It's not a Yeehaw Junction person with a wagon.
No.
This guy's like got his stuff together.
No. And he also, I think, brought up a lot of the stand ideas for me. Just like the scavenging and being a nice person, because there's that good versus evil idea that comes up, and he's definitely a good person.
He's a good example of, like, so in Portland, there's a wall around the city, right? And any fever they have contained. But Dean lives out in the world. He's biking around, right? And fevered are still there, but he still will travel on the roads and stuff. And they have this cool term, adrift, where they're like, oh, there's a drift coming, and that means, 6 or 7 zombies or however many. But I like to that term as like, oh, a group of the fevered are coming, so watch out for drifts, be careful. But they can still live in the world. It's not like if you go outside, a fever is going to kill you.
Yeah, it's not like 28 Days Later where they're like, they run incredibly fast.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It allows the characters to have a little bit more movement. It's not so claustrophobic. Mm-hmm. So we have him, and then Marsden is a colleague of Jack Bonner, who's the uncle. And real quick, the government that's coming back online, at least in America, it's the government and Teradyne, this big private contracting company. Or tech, not tech, but
no, they're like weapons dealer.
Weapons dealer. Yeah, that's right. But
Pentagon.
Big weapon dealing tech conglomerate. Mm-hmm. So there's it's like government and private weapons dealer is the new government, and so Marsden, who essentially serves the president of the United States and is a terrible person, but a really interesting character. And the other terrible person who's also an interesting character is Chris, who is just some, he's a fever hunter.
Right. Yes.
This is actually the last character we'll talk about, and then we'll move on.
I feel slightly bad for him because he was like a kid when the fever happened. I think he's like maybe, just like Naomi, right? He's like maybe 18.
Yeah. He's
like the polar opposite of Naomi. Naomi's like trying to help people, and he's like, fuck him, just kill everyone. And he had 2 brothers. One died during the fever, and the other becomes a fever hunter with him. And they go into a restaurant that Catherine is at after her work shift, and they're talking shit about the fevered. And she's like, I shouldn't say anything, but she does. And she's like, fuck you guys, those are people's kids, because she's got Nick at home chained up,
Which she doesn't tell people.
No. But, she's a mom of a fevered kid, and these guys they're drunk, and they're like, oh, fuck you, they're not, they're just monsters. And so then, of course, they have to stalk her, and then they find Nick, and they want to kill Nick. And Catherine beats in one of their heads, basically, and he dies, and the other brother is Chris. So he's like out to get her. He's just used. He's in a lot of pain, and they use that against him in order to make him a raging asshole and murderer, basically.
Yeah. And this is another Stand vibe. Basically, like all these different characters are in different locations. We have France, and then
It's Missouri, by the way.
Oh, it's Missouri, and then we got Massachusetts, and then also John Bonner in Portland. But these different characters in different geological locations.
And DC. Right?
Oh, and DC, right. It's cool. All right, so this book was very different than Fever House in terms of when I read Fever House. I mentioned this on the last episode, but I thought about Talk to Me, the movie, a lot, because a lot of Fever House is focusing on the severed hand. And that movie has a severed hand as its like iconic image. So that was fun. And then I also got vibes of just, I guess, just general crime fiction because of the Hutch and Tim stuff. Felt very like crime thrillery. This is, as we've mentioned, thrillery.
I like that. We had a lot of iceberg bobbing.
The iceberg bob. This one, as we have mentioned a few times, The Stand. I also got a little bit of feelings of Hereditary towards the end. For people who haven't seen that movie, like one of the characters at the end just goes full, like becomes the Prince of Darkness or whatever the demon is in that movie, right? And there's that similar movement. So I got Hereditary vibes, The Stand, and then I don't know, just general post-apocalyptic vibe. So the vibes and the themes felt very different for this book, which is cool.
It makes sense because it's after the apocalypse and Fever House is before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it works really well because of the shift in what's happened. You know, it's like before the event and after the event. Of course, it's going to be completely different. So I really liked how the style shifted as well. You still get the multi-character POV changes between chapters. That's the same, and some of the characters are the same, and obviously their personalities may have shifted a bit because, you know, trauma, but overall they're the same. But yeah, the overall way that the story is written is different, and I really liked that, because when you try to do the same thing again, you know, it usually falls flat. I think you get that with albums, right? Like, people get pissed when your next CD doesn't sound exactly the same as the last one because you liked that. But if you did the same, it would be boring. So I view that in the same way. Yeah.
What's cool is that just from the author's point of view, it probably makes it a little more fun too. I mean, it's of course got to be fun to directly continue a book into a sequel, right? But it's also cool to make a sequel be a new concept. I wouldn't say this book stands on its own. I mean, it could. It is definitely a continuation, but it just thematically and everything, it felt like reading a different project. So that was really cool.
Yeah. And speaking of writing, can I give some nice little writing quote examples?
Please do.
Okay, so right away in the first chapter is Naomi, and we're figuring out who she is. She's new to the series, so we don't really know her story. And she's with this guy named Dennis, who turns out to be a total douchebag. But at the time, we're not really sure. Like, maybe he's just a strong character because they're in a really shitty situation. We don't know how bad the fever it is. If they, you know, if it's like 28 days later where you really have to hide from them. We're not really privy to that kind of information yet, but we get a taste of what to expect here. The he here is Dennis. He's in front of her now and doesn't turn. He holds the woman's head in one fist by her filthy hair. The head twists and bumps against his leg as he walks. Drops of thick, jelly-like blood patter on the ground. The face sometimes turns to Naomi, the eyes. Naomi looks away when it happens. We have a schedule, is all Dennis says. So good. I love it. Just the grossness of it. Just see this head bobbing around.
Should I quote battle you?
Quote battle?
Well, you know, like hold on. I gotta look. Oh, here we go.
If I never go into a dark room, I'll live forever.
This is a good, this is towards the beginning, but it's talking about the message and its effect on the world. So that's cool. The message happened so fast, it was like a light being turned off. Massive power failures across the globe because the frontline workers for basic services, accustomed to being ready to problem solve at all hours, had answered their phones in the middle of the night and whoops, suddenly gone batshit. There was the total and immediate decimation of supply chains. Military, law enforcement, medical, and civic infrastructure all halted in a matter of moments. Global economy turned to dust in an eye blink. Moments after the message, organized society itself had pretty much become a cute idea, a fond memory. And to top it off, suddenly your loved one's a monster that wants to eat you. A lot of that has some current day political world news vibes to it.
Yeah.
A lot of that resonates with me.
It fits well with today.
Yeah. But this isn't a political podcast.
This isn't a political podcast.
All right, so you got another quote? I'm fine with one. But
well, this is more of like a feeling that I got reading this part. So what I really liked what he did, especially with Naomi in this scene, is that she is in complete panic mode. This is when the Americans come and take her back to America. She has a kid. It's not hers, but she's adopted it to be hers, basically. And she's like, all I want is this kid. Like, don't take the kid from me. And they obviously take the kid from her, and they're like, okay, you know, we're gonna take you back to America because you might be our cure. And so she's just in this heightened state of panic, and the way that he writes about the scene is so like clinical and cold. It's just such a great juxtaposition of like, you know how panicked she is, but it just reads so like, let's see if you pick up on how I felt about it. She was led outside. After hours in the plane, sensed in the darkness the expansiveness of the world. She tried to go limp and was held by both arms, pulled along. Her shoulders retched painfully. The inside of the bag grew slick with moisture, with her panic. She was put in a vehicle and then brought from the vehicle to a building. She cried out, and in English a man at her ear told her wearily to shut up. There'd been the faintest sheen of light through the woven fabric of the bag, and once she heard the telltale ding of an elevator, though she couldn't tell if they were going up or down. And it just goes on, and like it just describes this like boring room, and I don't know, just like it's subtle and maybe without context of what she's going through. It just maybe doesn't have the impact that it did for me, but that scene was like, oh man.
The prose is such a pleasure to read in this too, right?
Yes,
so even if it's like a quiet moment, right, with tension of course involved, but the prose is exciting in a way that he can take those kind of like quieter moments but still keep you engaged with cool language.
Yeah.
All right, there's some stuff I want to talk about in this book.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. So, first of all, one of the central tenets of this story is the idea of there's all these fevered, right? I don't know, millions of them or billions, whatever, a bunch of fevered. And the idea being they used to be humans and maybe we can turn them back is a big part of this.
I don't want to talk about that. Just kidding. You gave me a look like, what the hell?
So the current government policy, government/weapons manufacturer policy or dealer is when you come across fevered, like if you come across a drift and you're fever hunters, you kill everyone but a quarter of them, save a quarter of the fevered, and then like corral them and then take them to what they call collation centers, which are just fever houses, and like pack them in there. Essentially with the idea that if they do figure out a vaccine, they're going to need those fevered to make
them
like
back,
mass scale.
yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking like use them for the vaccine. No. If they create a vaccine, we can turn them back, right?
They're thinning the herd, but then they're keeping some to turn back, right?
Yeah.
That's how I read it.
That's totally it.
Okay.
And then for a second when I was reading it, I was like, oh, they want to keep some of them so that they can make enough of the vaccine. But they're the people who need the vaccine.
Like test the vaccine? Well, then.
Okay, so anyway.
So then who would the vaccine be for?
That's,
wow.
Yeah.
Good job, brain.
Yeah,
you did a good job.
I'm here for entertainment. Okay, so anyway, like the policy is you come across some drift or come across some fever, keep a quarter of them alive. But there's less and less patience for that. The president is like, there's no antidote coming or vaccine coming. We should just kill them all. And my thought through the whole thing was like, yeah, from the very beginning, kill every single one of them, because I mean, they got turned and then they've been like shitting their pants for years.
Oh, well, therefore they deserve to die.
Well, so they're good. I mean, think of the rashes just based on that. They're also like,
therefore
they'll like put their hand through a window if they want to. Yeah. So they're all cut up, and like physiology, their physiology.
Keep going there. Yeah, I like
phenomenology. You know what I'm talking about? All their insides and their brain is going to be so messed up from being in the fevered state. They even talk about how it affects parts of their brain, and there's like some sciencey parts. So
those clearly really connected with you. Those sciencey parts.
So I had a little bit of trouble with that, and now I think like thematically it was really interesting because it was like, do these people deserve the chance to come back and live? And now that I've had a little more time to think about the book, since it's been, I don't know, a day and a half since I finished it, I think like in the long term, it's more interesting to think about. But I was kind of like, all right, these guys, even if you bring them back, and that could be another horror story, right? Like you can imagine, oh, they bring someone back, but like Daddy's not quite the same.
Oh yeah.
It makes me think of Pet Sematary. Like, okay, maybe you'll turn him back, but that's not Daddy anymore.
Ooh, yeah, that's cool.
So I would totally be on the side of the people who are like clearly the villains of kill every single one of them. Like it's very sad, and don't be like a jerk about it. You can be like, hey guys, sorry, we got to go slay a bunch of people. But
so
just do it.
This also came up for me recently. We just watched the first new release of 28 Years Later, and I had the same conversation with you just about that film.
Not not 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, but
the first,
20
the one that
later.
came out already before this. And England is in quarantined, and the whole world apparently is fine except England, and they're just like, we're just gonna straight up quarantine them. And I'm like, bull fucking shit. The United States alone would not put up with that shit, and we would nuke the continent, or the country, the island. We would,
like, or we'd send out killing parties and shit.
Yeah, or we'd go in with like tanks and machine guns and kill everything on that island, because, well, what's to prevent, one of them escapes, and then you have a whole new outbreak on the world. So containing them sounds nice, but I guess they're rather docile in this book. But I don't see the people in charge, quote unquote, being okay with the potential that there would be more outbreak.
Yeah, which does happen. That was interesting, and this is all leading to another point. As we mentioned, this story is very different structurally, thematically. Of course, there's a lot of ties to the first one, but it feels like its own thing. I felt like the hand was such a huge part of the first book. This one, it felt like I was kept being reminded of those things. Like it would bring up the hand, the voice, the eye. I don't know if that's the right order.
Yeah, but I don't think there's necessarily an order. But
I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I felt the exposition in this more because of, hey, let's give the reader, some information about how it ties back to Fever House, of what's going on, just because this is totally different. And Fever House felt really personal because it was characters primarily in Portland as things were beginning to unravel. And part of what made it so interesting is it started out being very personal, character focused, which this book is too. But in that book, it wouldn't have sections of like, let's give you information of how this ties into what has happened. And I think it's really interesting to think about, because it's not so much like I didn't like that. It's more It's more like that's tricky for Keith, the author's point of view, right? Like the parameters that he had set up, what at the end of Fever House is everything is gone batshit and everything's crazy. So now the world he's working in is much bigger. It's no longer a personal story of people going through something that's about to unravel. Another thing is in Fever House, there were a lot of things that felt like current events we lived through, right? There are protests and stuff, and
the protests and COVID, like I felt that viscerally, like, yes, I know this Portland. I've seen this Portland.
Yeah, it felt like we lived through that stuff. And
luckily we have, I mean, to say, let me just interject. I am rather happy that we have not been able to experience the second book by name. I'm pretty satisfied not living in the post-apocalypse. Yeah. Just want to throw that in there.
But I think my last point is that because it's, global post-apocalyptic setting, it lost that personal aspect of like, I remember 2020 also. I remember the Black Lives Matter protests, which isn't a knock against the book, right? Because he explored those topics, and then the setting is different. But it's just interesting to think about the things that he had in play and how he handled them, and just the way I thought about him. I mean, I really liked the book, but there was some things that felt, I guess, not quite as personal and tense. This one is still very personal, but instead of like a live wire, like I imagine Fever House has like a single taut through point, if that makes sense, where this can have more, not sags, dips. Is that what I'm trying to say? Like it can slows down occasionally to be like, here's what's going on, and remember this, the hand, the eye, the voice.
Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying.
Am I rambling?
No, I think you just haven't formed your thought.
Maybe that's completely. It. I did just finish it.
I think if I were to reiterate what you just said and maybe clarify it, I don't know. Let me try. So with Fever House, it was like looking at a event that we all lived through and dealing with the fear and the tension of not knowing what's going to happen, and getting through that and remembering that trauma. I mean, COVID was traumatic, and the protests were traumatic in a lot of different ways, right? Like some good came out of the protests, I think. I don't know. Today everything's fucked anyway, but this isn't a political podcast. But then with Devil by Name, that fear is that tension, that unknown in front of you is now known, right? Like the fever happened. It's now, how do we deal with this? Like, what kind of people are we going to be coming out of this, right? Like, are we going to be
reaction to what has happened?
Are we going to be people like Naomi who are going to try to help and fix it? Or are we going to be like Chris, where we're like, fuck everything and, just kill them all? And I think individually we may have, came out better, some of us, and a lot of us came out worse.
Or at least changed. We know that
changed,
much.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you talk a bit about your feelings inside your feeling centers?
My feeling centers are full of feelings. Yeah, I definitely still really liked this book. I didn't like it as much as Fever House, but I think it's for the exact reason that we just discussed on your end, right? Like there's like that weird traumatic nostalgia that came with Fever House.
Traumatic nostalgia. That's like,
I mean, there were parts of COVID that I appreciated. I liked being home. I do kind of like that isolation. I obviously don't like a fucking pandemic and people dying and that, all that stuff. I like seeing change for the better, but I also don't like seeing the downtown completely decimated. So, it's totally traumatic nostalgia for me. And I felt that Fever House grasped that really well. And The Devil by Name didn't, but it also wasn't trying to. So it's not like a knock against this book. It's totally. It's just a different phase. And I feel that because it's post-apocalyptic as opposed to just like, now we're out of COVID, how do we survive it? It loses that connection. In some senses, it feels like we live in the post-apocalyptic world because every day it's like, how can it get worse? What's going to happen next? How many more people are we going to put in cages? And it's similar to Devil by Name in that sense, but the diseased people are the ones in charge. Anyway.
And I'll give a quick props to Devil by Name, because we're talking about how it feels a little separated from current events, right? But I think that the aspect of this book that really brought me into today and what we're going through now is with Theo Marsden and Jack Bonner, the people working with the private weapons dealer, because they get into a situation where they first of all, they were responsible for broadcasting the message to everybody.
And Jack thought it was an accident, right? Like at first we're not sure, but he actually is like, no, I really did not mean to do that. I'm not just saying that. And it gets to the point where I believed him.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Oh, yeah. But basically what I'm saying is people who are very high in power and have access to the president, and because of the president's requests, are doing horrific things. Like their plan of what they want to do, they want to gather Naomi because she can turn fevered back. So they have the antidote in the vaccine or whatever. Like they have that power from her, but they also want to bring like the hand and the eye and Matthew Coffin all together. So then they basically, then they have all the nukes and they have the antidote to the nukes. And so they're just doing this horrific thing that's about to take this post-apocalyptic world potentially into a much worse post-apocalyptic world, but they're also like well-realized characters.
But we'll be in power, so therefore.
Yeah, so that felt current. That probably can feel current through all of human history, but because we're living in today, it feels current.
It also is kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We have the Ark. We are all powerful. Oh, wait, it consumed us because we're idiots.
Don't look in the face of God, you moron.
Or the devil in this case.
That's true.
Should we talk about the ending a little bit?
Yes. Why don't you?
Well, I thought it was a cool ending. It definitely brought the name of the book out in a literal sense. So it turns out that Matthew Coffin, who started all this, got possessed by a lesser demon who needed these 3 specific things: the hand, the eye, the voice, in order to bring about the coming of his reign of earth or whatever. And so he uses Matthew, gets very, very close, but then is sidelined by Naomi and Catherine and Bonner and all that. They come in and save the day. And I liked that ending. I thought it was cool because, it's zombies. It's not, you can explain it with parasites and stuff, but if
it feels more
they're
like
turning,
a cult zombies.
Yeah, it's
cool.
like devil zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they are devil zombies.
They are devil zombies, yeah. But instead of, it's like undead, but they're not. Like, and they never really were undead. They're just possessed. So in a sense, they're all just like a mass world possession. And that's a very clever way to do zombies, because like I think I said in the last one, at least I've been talking about it with the 28 years later coming out, is like, I miss zombies. I miss good zombies, and The Walking Dead just fucking killed zombies for so long, and we needed a refresh. And I feel like these books have a cool take on zombies that's different. It really solidified that with the ending, explaining how they came about and what happened, as opposed to just like, and it ends,
Yeah.
Because again, going back to The Stand, it did a similar thing. But the problem there is I didn't like how that was
like a
how
Deus
that
Ex
came
Machina,
together.
I think, right? Like,
yeah,
it was just like a lightning bolt that solved everything,
sort of
something like that.
yeah. I just didn't. It was such a good book, and then it just kind of like, wait, what? Stephen King, what the fuck are you doing? And so this one, I was like hesitant of that because of some of the parallels. I was like, oh, please, Rosson, don't screw us over, and he didn't. So that made me happy.
Yeah, I like the ending too. There's 2 things that made me think of. I couldn't get Diablo out of my head, like the video game franchise, because I was just thinking, of the concept art of Diablo from that series when Diablo came out in the book, essentially. Although what's funny is we find out it's not the actual devil. It's like a demon who has been kicked out by other demons and is like ostracized or exiled, or it's just like a demon who's doing all of this stuff to Earth just to be like, hey, I'm powerful too.
I'm important.
Yeah.
I'm an important demon.
Which is technically a spoiler, but it's like, it's not really a huge...
The whole book, I mean, this whole podcast is.
guess.
We've warned you.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're spoiling things. But I like that. That gave me a little bit of like Paradise Lost. I don't think it was thrown out, or maybe it was, but yeah, it was like Paradise Lost, except instead of being thrown out of heaven, it was like a devil being thrown out by devils. The one thing, and this was another tricky structure thing, I feel like the way...
So wait, does that mean that he wasn't evil enough? So this is like...
Or maybe.
This is like lazy world domination?
Maybe,
Like, can
yeah.
you imagine?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what?
He was
would
like a
be
minor demon who was just like, I can fuck shit up. Look what I did to Earth.
So imagine what a greater demon would have done.
Yeah. And this is something that happens in cosmic horror all the time. And it's kind of the end of the story, right? There's all this crazy stuff happens and it ends with some kind of disgusting creature. Like, so, right, this one's the devil comes out and it's the devil. It's a big monster. And then in, I don't know, cosmic horror, it ends up being, I don't know, like a worm or people who have been like disintegrated and look disgusting. And that's kind of the ultimate, what the gross thing is. Like you get to that in the finality, like this unhuman thing. But because I like cosmic horror a lot and I've read that kind of thing, it is a trope, and which isn't a bad thing. But like the Fisherman, right, was ultimately you knew they were going to encounter the cosmic whale, and it does happen, and it's cool, just like this was cool. But it also feels like that has to be the ending, and so it feels a little less surprising, or not. It doesn't not feel organic. It felt very organic in this. It all like led to this, but it had to lead to this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to say, I'm not trying to say like, oh, I wasn't surprised at all. I totally guessed that at all. But it was, I don't know, it's just a tricky narrative thing.
And it's also interesting because that wasn't necessarily the case with Fever House, especially if you read it before you knew that The Devil by Name was going to be, right? Like you wouldn't know if the whole world, if it was going to break out in the whole world.
I think a succinct way of saying this is like you knew they were all going to Portland and then the boss was going to come out, and the boss came out and there was a boss fight.
Yeah, but we play video games, so I like a good boss fight.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like with other
that.
books, how often that is the case, right?
Yeah. Still a really cool ending. I'm happy with it. Although someone gets turned back.
Wait, what?
Catherine, when she becomes the demon, they're like, her face skin split off, and then Naomi touches her, and she's like, okay again.
Well, you can sew that up. I mean...
Sew it up. I guess so.
Hey, better than those people who are dragging themselves on like stumps because they've torn up their limbs so much.
Can I address Keith real quick? There's two things. First of all, oh shit, what was what?
No, you cannot because you have forgotten.
What did you just say?
She could sew up her
I got
face.
it. Okay, Keith, I just want to tell you something real quick. First of all, thank you so much for making a duology. I first encountered this with Gene Wolfe, the Book of the New Sun, which is 2 books, like 2 physical books. And I was
they're pretty big.
Yeah,
isn't
400
it 2
pages
books
each.
within?
Only a little longer than these.
But isn't it 2 books within
Yes, but each
one?
book is 200 pages. So it's 2 physical 400-page books. So in my mind,
it's a duology. Okay,
it's a duology because two
it's like
physical
part
books.
1, part 2.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and it's so cool because it's like science fiction fantasy, and usually that means like strap in for $7. Bucks, like strap in for $7. So to just be like, oh, this is a story that has 2 books, I call it considerate science fiction or fantasy, considerate horror. I love it. I love a 2-book thing. I'm planning a 2-book thing right now because 3 books is cool, but it's also like we've done that and we have less time now. So 2 books is you can explore a lot of things, but you can also like finish it up and feel good about it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And also Keith Rosson most recently published Coffin Moon, which I did not mention in the first episode.
I think of all the things to have not mentioned, I think that one's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, and also thanks for putting up with us showing off our child's art. He gets very excited about his art.
Yeah.
In our chapter meeting, he was very adamant about sharing. So
I mean, I was too.
taking
I was
the
excited.
space. I know, but it wasn't really the space for that. So I appreciate people putting up with our eccentricities.
Keith is an artist. It wasn't too off topic.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, I feel like, did I just like derail this whole thing?
I feel like we were done because
Yeah,
you talked about
okay,
the
good.
end.
I felt like it was...
So I really enjoyed both. I'm just going to do a little wrap up here. I really enjoyed both books. I am definitely going to... I had thought that I would have also had time to read Coffin Moon by now, which unfortunately I did not, because I did not take into the account that time off during the holiday also included a house full of people, so reading was near impossible. But I am going to read it, so y'all will hear me talk about it at some point, just not today. And then I'm definitely going to read some of his earlier stuff too, because he was talking about one of his books yesterday, and it sounded really interesting to me. And of course, I forgot the title because I didn't write it down, even though it's right in front of me.
Yeah, I think too, the prose in Fever House and Devil by Name is so... unique is such an overused word, but anyway,
You can really see his voice.
yeah,
Well,
it has a
yeah,
very
I guess
unique
C
voice, we'll say. And I'm curious if reading one of his other books, if it's like, oh, that's kind of his style, or if this was very much specific to these books, right? I'm sure there's maybe a little truth in both of those.
That
but
makes sense.
I'd like to find out.
But it's also fun to read local.
Yeah. What you been reading?
Oh, so I've only read these two, but I listened to some other books. I had started Neuromancer, I think before Christmas, and sporadically listened to it. This is by William Gibson. It's a pretty famous science fiction. And I was really in the mood for some kind of Blade Runner vibe, like dark, rainy science fiction. And this one kept coming up. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And it was all right. I think partly I didn't really love the narrator. And I also was very busy with the holidays. So it was very start and stop. And I think I got a little lost in the story sometimes.
Gibson, I remember reading him, felt like a little tricky. Like you really got to be paying attention.
Yeah,
it's kind of abstract.
So bad timing on my part, I think. But I did enjoy it. It was all right. It was fine. And then I just listened to 1922 by Stephen King. I had to get in my first Stephen King of the year. And I thought I'd pick something totally random that I'd never heard of from him. And I enjoyed it. It's like a farmer and his son own land in like around 1922. And the dad convinces the son to kill his wife, his mom, wife/mom for the characters. And then because she wants to sell her land or whatever. And it's like the aftermath of that. And it's cool because he's like haunted by her, but also his son's like really fucked up from killing his mom. And it was a fun read. Typical Stephen King, really easy to follow along. And the funniest part is I was at Trader Joe's one day and I had my I Love Dairy bag from Dairy, Ireland. And someone working there was like, oh, is that from the new Stephen King show, the Welcome to Dairy? And I was like, oh, no, it should be, right? Like I should just say yes. But I was like, but I am listening to Stephen King, like literally in this moment. So it was really fun. So then I got in this long conversation about reading horror with people at Trader Joe's. So that was fun.
Nice.
And then today I did my annual listen or read. I guess it depends on the year. But this year I listened to Letter from Birmingham Jail because today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Go read that or listen to it if you haven't before. It's a good piece. It's nice and short. And it's always good to get a little Martin Luther King in your life. He was important for so many reasons, but yeah, that's it. So pretty short.
Mine's even shorter. As you said, I'm always getting distracted with amazing punk rock things. Speaking of, I read a little over half of a book you got me for Christmas called Punkland, and it is fun. This is the first bizarro genre book that I've read before, and it's really cool because the cover is a woman who is... I don't think she's topless. I think she has a bra on. But anyway, her like hands. She has crossing her hands over her chest and has a super tall blue mohawk and a pistol in her hand. And then in the book, there's a couple more pictures of her. And this was a real photo shoot with a punk rock model. And the author, Carlton Mellick III, saw the photo shoot pictures and was like, oh, I've always wanted to write a story about a punk rock secret agent. So he did. So that's just cool to be like, these photos are awesome. I'm going to write a book about it. And he did. And it's crazy. The main character's name is Goblin. And
that's very punk.
Punkland is basically heaven for punks. It starts out where like they're in heaven, but he gets kicked out of heaven by God because he throws a dildo at God. And this dildo's like a little gurgling baby. Main character carries around, and it makes gurgling sounds and spittles and stuff.
Oh my God.
So he threw this dildo at God, so God kicked him out, and then they end up going to Punkland, which was created in the mind of Sid Vicious. And there's like Mosh Town. There's the towns for like the East Bay happy punks, and then there's like Skinhead Town, and then there's like Mosh Town where people are constantly moshing like 12 hours a day, and if they stop moshing, like bad things will happen.
But they go to hell.
And they're all deformed.
That sounds like
punk
hell
rockers
for a 40-something-year-old.
Yeah, and then in Punkland, the main character ends up throwing his dildo at Sid Vicious's head. Like,
oh my God.
The thing is, like, he doesn't want to because Sid Vicious is the head honcho of Punkland, but the main character just gets a huge urge to throw his dildo at people's heads. So he's like, Sid Vicious comes in, he's like, don't do it. Don't fucking do it. And then he's like, I gotta do it. He throws the dildo at Sid. And then so they're on the run, and he goes to jail, and he meets Shark Girl, who's the girl on the cover, and she's half human, half shark. And just it's ludicrous, and it's inspired in some ways by Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut, in the sense where the character has like sketches throughout the book because it's almost like a journal, and so those sketches are in here. And then the whole play in Punkland is that there's like a council of punks, and these are the people who are like, this is what punk rock is, and you must listen to us, but you don't have to because we're anarchists, but there's still a council. And then there's an uprising against the council over who gets to decide what is and isn't punk. And it's just,
some of the things you said, like read aloud, like told me how you get in heaven. Wasn't one thing like if you do the live long and prosper symbol, it's an automatic in?
Oh yeah. Like at the gates of Punkland, they now have like a security guard who basically, or the person at the gate who checks you and sees if you're punk enough. Like if you have an anarchy tattoo, that's 50 points. You have a face tattoo, it's 50 points. It's only like each safety pin is worth 5 points, and you need to get at least 100 points. And one of the characters who's trying to get in, and they don't even want to be there, they just got lost, doesn't have enough points because he doesn't have any colored hair and he's not a punk. So he has to take the Idiot's Guide to Being a Punk and learn it by heart so he can take the test to be a punk and be allowed into Punkland. So it's a lot of fun. And I just recently found out it's Eraserhead Press, which is based in Portland. And I think it's just a small independent press. And
that's awesome.
They do Bizarro novels. I don't know.
Portland's great. We have so much good writing, reading, publishing.
I'm really enjoying it. I don't know how many Bizarro novels I could read in close proximity to each other because it's very bizarre. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also like
chaos.
And I think that's the point. But I'm enjoying it. That's what I've been reading. I'll finish this by the time we do our next episode. And why don't we talk about what the next 3 episodes are going to be? We got A Natural History of Hell coming up by Jeffrey Ford. Short stories, really good. I've read through these, and I'm excited for Amber to talk about it. And then after that, we have The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle, which is tied to an H.P. Lovecraft story. I said I was going to look it up. It's like the Red Hook.
I think we're also going to read that, right?
Yes.
We're going to read both.
Yeah,
but
there's
technically the podcast is The Ballad of Black Tom.
Yeah, but there's like direct conversation between those two stories, I believe. And then You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White, which I don't know anything about.
That's our first March book, and that one is trans. That's a trans story.
Cool.
Trans horror.
Don't recognize the name. I mean,
it's a black cover with a red, like...
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the book cover, but I know nothing about it.
It just came out. Oh, actually, it just came out last year now.
Cool.
It's a 2025 release. I haven't read it yet, but I put it on our list as a new release book, and it's not a new release at this point, but people seem to really like it, so I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, me too. So we'll see you then. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Well, if you've made it this far, then we didn't scare you off. Thanks for listening to Dusk to Dawn, reading horror and weird fiction.
Please rate our podcast, and if you like, follow us on Instagram at Dusk to Dawn Podcast, which is also our Gmail address. Tell us what you liked or didn't like about the show, and let us know if you have any book suggestions. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.